think that growing up as being in a black household, as we said, it was definitely a taboo. You know, we've always been told that God is your therapist, like you need to resort to the Bible and things like that. And I mean, of course, you always should look at God as your main counselor. You should seek him first, you know. But I do think that therapy does help because, you know, you can pray all day on, you know, all that you want. And I might get eaten up for saying this, but I'm like, faith without works is dead. So I feel like, how are you going to really apply these things if you're not really doing the work and putting them in? A therapist, like, you know, there's Christian therapy, and I wanted to touch bases on that because, you know, I actually went to Christian therapy, and it's not like a woo-woo thing. Like, no, this is a full-on minister that is bringing the Bible into therapy and showing you, you know, how you can apply these verses into your lives. But it's like one of those things is like where you really have to take that in. And I think, honestly, like as she said, that growing up, it was not really talked about. I know I personally didn't learn about therapy well until like my later 20s, honestly, either. Like it was not even college. It was well after I was out of college. Like I always heard about therapy, but I never was interested in going. But then once I started seeing like while I was having different relationship problems or how I act sometimes, I'm like, child, maybe I do need to go to therapy because I feel like I'm traumatized by certain things. So.
Oh, yeah, that's good. Because I was going to say, what made you even think to go to therapy? But
trauma.
It's not funny, but we said. So do you still have a Christian therapist?
No, I don't. Actually, shout out to Miss Chanel Jackson. She's actually here in the Louisville, Kentucky area. I found her off of psychology today. So I started going to her, I think in like 2021. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was dealing with like some relationship stuff. I was just dealing with a lot of mental health issues at the time. So I was like, I only specifically Psychology Today. And I'm like, if you see this, sponsor us.
Psychology Today, period.
Yes.
I was just going to say, do you feel like there's a difference between the Christian therapy and then like the therapy that you're doing now? Like, do you feel like there is a huge difference, or do you kind of feel like it's the person, or if you're like, it doesn't really matter?
I think there's both because, like I said, with Miss Jackson, I think with her, she really was all in, like, you know, a full-on Christian and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. She didn't give a session without talking about God, and I really did like that. The therapist I was going to was Latina. She is a Christian as well, but she didn't really talk about it as much like that. Mm-hmm. So I did see the main difference with them, and we always prayed. That was one thing that we always did. We prayed before the session, and we prayed after.